Live from New Orleans, it's the Blitz, broadcasting from the AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row. Ahead of Sunday's game, here's Jason Minix and Joe Reinagel on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. He's Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix. In New Orleans on Radio Row, Ron Rivera joining us now with our doing work as you always do with our friends at USAA. Now, we saw you about a month ago, a little more than a month ago in D.C. at the Army-Navy game. And, we were wondering if you were going to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. But you do have a new job.
Yes. Well, it's we're still working the specifics out, but it's kind of that general manager program that you see a lot of teams having in college football now, and that's somebody that's going to oversee some of the things that go on with the college football team. Try and help out with certain specific things as far as the NIL program, working with the head coach, working with the coaching staffs, trying to create opportunities to create more resources for the coaches, and then working with the university itself. I've had discussions with the chancellor, so I'm pretty excited about this opportunity. Like I said, we're still working through the specifics, but it's an opportunity for me personally to come back and give back to the university.
Coach, it's interesting that the college, the university, the football programs now are needing general managers. I mean, it's turning into a lot like the NFL, is it not?
It pretty much is, and it's funny, but you go back and you look what Coach Belichick did a month ago, and you start thinking to yourself, wow, this makes sense, because, again, this game is no longer pure amateur athletics like it used to be, and now it's above board, some of the stuff that goes on. So now you need somebody that's got to help maintain certain situations. There's a budget you've got to work with, a player budget that's got to be understood. You've got to prioritize players. You got to prioritize positions. So these things are all important things that now you need somebody to manage. You can't sit there and put it on your head coach and say, okay, manage this as well. I promise you, the last thing most coaches want to do is manage something other than football. Because I went through a situation like that for 4 seasons, trying to manage circumstances, in a certain team in Washington.
I don't know how you did it.
I was wondering if you were actually going to say it in Washington. We mumble that. Ron Rivera joining us here on the Blitz. Now, you say you're working through the details. Were you a little surprised it got out today, or was that kind of known, like you're doing Radio Row?
It was known.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
But having it out is kind of a cool deal, just because of the response we've got already. And the idea is just, is that it's an opportunity to come back home for me personally. For Stephanie and I, we're both Californians. We both went to Berkeley and enjoyed our time at Cal. It was a very neat, unique opportunity for us. And so it's exciting. And there is some excitement about it. I'm just very fortunate, very blessed. Football's been a great opportunity for us. It's created a lot of great moments. And hopefully there's still a few more left to go.
Well, I think it's fascinating. I'm happy for you. Obviously thrilled that you're as happy as you are. I just, college football, when you get back there, it's just going to be interesting to see. Or do you already have a pretty good idea of what you're going to have to do and what's going to be thrown upon you as soon as you sit down at your desk?
I have some idea. I've talked with people prior to this just to get an understanding, feel for what's going on, what they're looking for, what they need. And that, to me, was really an eye-opener. They don't have the resources that you have in the NFL, first of all. Secondly, this NIL is a whole new, it's a whole new world out there, and teams are still trying to get a handle of it, and what has to happen, I think, is somehow they've got to be able to slow things down, limit certain things as far as the amount of money. I mean, there's a salary cap in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right now, there's not one in this NIL program. And somewhere along the lines, they've got to be able to create an opportunity to slow it down. Somewhere along the lines, people are going to get tired of giving away free money and giving away money where they get no benefit. Whereas if you donate directly to the university into the university fund or into the athletic programs, you get a tax deduction. You get a benefit for it. Right now, there is no benefit other than you probably get a better seat at the stadium.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. Ron Rivera joining us here on the Blitz. Odd question, because I know last year you interviewed for the defensive coordinator job in Dallas. And this year, the interview process seemed odd in Dallas. What is it like to go through a job interview with the Joneses?
I've gone through a couple with them. I went for their head coaching job the year Phillips gets it. And that was tremendous. They flew me in first thing in the morning. We started at like 9 in the morning, and we went till almost 10 o'clock at night. I mean, that was back in 2005, I think it was, or January of 2006. The other one that I did was by Zoom. I thought it was very good. I've always enjoyed my conversations with the Joneses. I really have. I think Mr. Jones is Jerry's the right type of guy that wants to win in a bad way, and he gives a lot of resources to football. Steven, I've been on committee with Steven, gotten to know him, and I think he's a guy that eventually, when it's his time to run things, we'll do exactly that, run it his way. But you know what you get, you know what it's about, and from there it's about now managing as the coach, I believe.
Coach, I've got to ask you, because the perception among Cowboy fans is that Jerry Jones winning is secondary. He just wants to make money. Do you get that sense?
I don't. I get he wants to win in a bad way, and the things that he did, in my opinion, just from afar, was all about trying to keep the offense as similar as possible, no transition on the offensive side. Okay, that's why I believe he wanted to keep Mike. That's why I believe he hired Shoddy, and I believe also Kellen Moore was in that and was a big part of that at one point. Why? Because those guys know the offense. It's easier to transition, okay, a new defense than it is to transition a new offense. Now, if you're coming in and everything's a brand new part, then so be it. But when you have everybody that's all part of the same thing still there, you've got the quarterback still there, the receiver's still there, the offensive line's still there. You've got to improve the running game, in my opinion. That's something that has to happen. I think that running game's got to get better because the running game is a quarterback's, and I believe that. And I think they got to fix the running game. And once you do that, now your offense is whole again. And I think they have a chance to get right back in the playoffs. I do. Defense, they got the personnel.
Shoddy was the offensive coordinator. He interviews like for 4 hours, and then the next day they bring him out and there's like 4 more hours. What are they talking about that whole time?
Well, you're talking about, first of all, your philosophy. What do you believe in? What do you think? The next day it's about, okay, who's your personnel? Who are you going to bring in? Who's going to run this? Who's going to do that? What do you think about our personnel? Where do you think we got to improve? I mean, 4 hours here, 4 hours there. That's just 8 hours. I mean, you could have done that in one day, but they took a couple of days to do it. And then probably in each opportunity, it was like, hey, when you come back, be prepared for this. And I think that's what they did, was they gave him an opportunity to get himself ready for the next interview. Again, this to me is to limit the transition and change as far as the offense has to go. Defense, trust me, those guys will be fine. Okay, remember, they changed the defense from Dan Quinn, and then they changed it again, but look at how well they played at the end. It took them a little bit to get comfortable in that system, but once they started playing, they played the way that they're capable of.
Ron Rivera joining us here with our friends from USAA. Salute to Service Award you won it a couple of years ago. George Kittle was just announced. He's the winner this year. Very cool in everything that USAA does with the NFL.
It is very cool. And again, I'm a USAA member. My father served 2 years in the United States military. He's one of the original members way back when. I started in 1986. And winning the award was a very good, big moment for me, because my dad served. He understood what it meant. And knowing that I gave back to the military community was a very proud moment for him when I won that award. Knowing that George Kittle now is the guy is really cool, because you got to know George. George is one of those guys that gives back. He really is. And he's a different guy. He's a fun-loving guy. He's a great person. And he does truly believe in giving back to the military. So this is really neat. And just having USA as the sponsor for Salute Service Week in the NFL, they've been doing this for a long time, and it's a very neat thing.
That is awesome. Ron Rivera, congrats on the new job. When everything gets official, but we know it will. I guess the radio thing, you're not going to keep doing that?
No, you know what? This is one of the things I talked about that I wanted to be able to do, is stay involved with the NFL, and that gives me a chance to keep my fingers in.
Absolutely. Ron Rivera, congrats, and thanks for stopping by. I know you got to run.
All right, Jason.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Good to see you guys. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Ron Rivera here on the Blitz on Radio Row in New Orleans.